Welcome to the series, You Are the Juror, Therefore You Decide, presented by Joseph Applegarth. This is video number 2. The title of today's subject is America is Drowning in Fraud. Fraud is deception. It is both insidious and blatant injustice. It is a lie. It is theft. Fraud invariably hurts or murders people. Fraud benefits the indolent, hence the needless criminal. Criminals are flawed individuals. They lack a conscience, and thus feel no compunction for wrongdoing. After mastering their ability to deceive, they commonly administrate over corporations and governments, which are the number one perpetrators of fraud. Governments are now corporations with DUNS numbers. They no longer represent the citizenry as mendaciously touted by marketing agencies and military recruiters. Corporations are endemic banks. They hide their crimes against humanity behind the facade of professionalism, costumes, badges, distinguished titles, and sinecure, hence pampered positions. The unconscionable cadre thereof are invariably overpaid and underworked. Imagine that. The working man, hence the productive, are blatantly robbed to pay for the plush salaries of these needless, parasitic corporate criminals. In some way, these high-level miscreants have sold their soul to the devil. These unprincipled wretches are invariably protected by hypnotized, order-following zombies with spurious badges and lofty titles, but mainly guns. Consequently, it is nearly impossible to bring one of these servants of Satan to justice because of this. The exclusive administrators thereof have private security agencies protecting them in addition to law enforcement, moreover, the military, no matter what country they represent. Some disgruntled members of their ignominious lot are coming forward these days and admitting that they sold their soul to the devil for their soft and overpaid positions, and the devil perfidiously double-crossed them. Imagine that. And consequently, they are livid about the unscrupulous betrayal they were subjected to. As a result, they are determined to tell their story, to warn other potential dupes from making the same mistake. The varied positions of fraudsters often compose the following: CEOs, actors, musicians, political representatives, judgeships, and the list goes on. Every one of them, with few exceptions, belong to a secret order. For example, witches' covens, Satan worshippers, hence blood-drinking cults, and a host of akin Luciferian secret societies, all of which serve Satan. Satan represents selfishness and all manner of wanton vice, hence addictions. Take note that in this modern age, hence epoch of open information via the internet, the odious practices of their debauchery are no longer secretive, but boldly proclaimed with pride. They even have parades touting their turpitude in the cities they dominate. For many years, the abhorrent members of this satanic cabal have had complete control over news media, social websites, the video platforms up until recently. However, as a result of this unjust, hence intolerable chicanery, a countervail has emerged. We are now witnessing a multitude of alternative internet sites flourishing every day to counteract this iron-fisted type of satanic despotism. For example, after Donald Trump was unjustly censored betimes, he soon debuted his very own social platform called Trump Book as an alternative to Facebook to emancipate his supporters, namely the conservative movement, from this abhorrent censoring tyranny. He will likely debut TrumpTube soon as an alternative to YouTube for the same reason. In fact, Trump's free speech soundboards might end up obliterating the mainstream, over-censoring platforms entirely. Regardless, there are now a host of many social websites and video platforms proliferating globally that are promising not to censor, hence quell, free speech. Facebook and YouTube are being overwhelmed by these newly evinced platforms that are efflorescing exponentially. This is how desperate people are to tell the truth and to hear the truth in today's society. The minions of Satan have caused a global famine for the truth. Let us now turn our attention to the criminality of corporate thievery. There is none more infamous and despised than the fraudulent industry of telemarketing. Most of the telephone calls that we receive daily is that of telemarketing. We are inundated by telemarketing calls on our landline telephones and even on our private cell phones, of which comprise up to 90% of our incoming calls. These conniving and impudent criminals pirate other people's telephone numbers to deceive us into answering the telephone call. If we inadvertently answer the call, then it confirms our telephone number as being an active number. Many of these calls are highly threatening in nature, hence extortionary. They are often prefaced by the con that if you fail to call the subsequent telephone number offered, then consequently a SWAT team will be dispatched immediately to audaciously abduct you and cast you into prison, where you will be denied the rule of law, hence any vestige of a defense. As a result of this wanton dishonesty, hence unrestrained fraud, we now live in the most deceptive, fraudulent society that has ever existed in the history of the world. The most common threat that government bureaucrats threaten citizens with is the following: if you do not hand over the money that I am trying to extort from you, or if you refuse to do what I command you to do, then I am going to seize your bank account and confiscate everything you own. I will force you to become a homeless indigent, or, even worse, I will have you put in prison, hence a tenebrous dungeon, to cruelly separate you from your loved ones. I will make sure that the precious hours and days of your life will be utterly wasted. I will destroy your future, hence your destiny. Now, stop and think about this for a minute. Does that sound like freedom/rights to you? In fact, it is the very opposite. It is unmitigated satanic despotism running amok. The 4th of July celebration has become a mockery to freedom and justice in America. It is our God-given duty to boldly expose evil tyrants and bring them to accountability, hence justice, as it says in Ephesians 5, verse 11 in the Holy Bible, and have no fellowship with the unfruitful works of darkness, but rather reprove them. This means to bring them to accountability, hence justice. Now let us examine the deceptive fraud of euphemism, hence deceit with vague wording, hence the insidious corruption of our language. A euphemism is the candy coating of a word. For example, the word die is conveniently euphemized as passed away or expired, etc. The word crippled is ambiguously euphemized into handicap, challenged, etc. The kettle is black is deceptively proffered as being sable in color or the like. This type of word corruption causes total confusion. It is an opprobrious fraud. The profession that is the guiltiest of them all is the infamous court system. Its abuse of the language is called legalese. Yes, there is an exact word for their deception, and their members are well aware of it, as they are rebuked about it constantly. How interesting. Does spam via email strike a nerve? Spam composes most of our emails these days. It is referred to as phishing, spelled with a PH. Phishing emails are dangerous. Do not dare to click on one of these toxic snares, hence baiting manipulations, or your computer or bank account can be instantly hacked. They are a computer hack merely a click away. It is prudent to report every one of them. We also receive an inordinate amount of spam in our postal mail. It is referred to as junk mail, and many of them are threatening as well. One of the most dreaded frauds in the modern world is identity theft. Once an identity theft is effectuated, where the insidious thief gains access to your various passwords, your birth date, hence bioinformation, your life is basically over. Massive data breaches seem to dominate the headlines of the news media every day. It will take a lifetime to try to mitigate, hence undo the damage caused by identity theft. This is usually perpetrated by computer hackers, which leads us into the next subject, computer hacking. Computer hackers are some of the most dangerous criminals that vex a society. It accounts for the largest monetary theft in the world. Their nefarious assaults on prominent corporations and governments have shocked nations recently. The entertainment industry lies to us constantly to manipulate us to agree with and promote the status quo, of which benefits the insidious 1% who control the monetary system of the entire planet. The reprobate entertainment industry promotes every manner of sin. One of its most odious assaults was to create in the human psyche an appalling mental disorder of victimization, that no matter who you marry, you married the wrong person, and, moreover, your spouse is always secretly cheating on you. This psychological tool of manipulation causes the victimized spouse to feel perpetually inferior and that they are never good enough, no matter how hard they ever try. This demented theme dominates almost every movie, television show, song, and book that the entertainment industry ever created. There is no escape. It is the leading cause of divorce, hence the irreversible dissolution of the family unit. How sick is that? Let us review the vexation of modern marketing, hence advertising. Video platforms, for example, YouTube, forces annoying, time-wasting advertisements on the hapless viewer with the sole purpose of tormenting the greatly annoyed viewer to purchase, on a monthly basis, a filter that eliminates the vexing advertisements. The same is prevalent on Facebook, where it seems that every other post is an annoying advertisement, which makes scrolling through your posts very cumbersome. There is no escape. Criminals who perpetrate fraud are cruel. Fraud is satanic. When you download any application on your computer, you are forced to agree to their inequitable policy to spy on you and have exclusive copyrights to all of your material, or you are denied access. This is not freedom/rights. This is worse than full-blown communism. This is what happens when capitalism is usurped by criminals. The most dangerous corporation of fraud that enjoys impunity and carte blanche is the modern court system. Many books and video documentaries expose this sinister cabal, mostly decried by its own disgruntled former members. It is the number one broker in human trafficking that exists, and especially regarding financial and child exploitation. The court system is an exclusive, hence private, corporation. Judges and lawyers/attorneys are constantly referred to as court actors, in a word, court theater. The lawyers who rebel and expose this system of injustice and tyranny often end up disbarred and sentenced to prison for non-crimes. They are political prisoners rotting in a prison cell for the sake of ensuring their silence. The cruelty of fraud knows no limits. Law enforcement is the bird dog, hence the henchman for the court system. When the members of law enforcement strike their pen against one of their scurrilous, hence accusatory tickets, you receive an instant fine or an obligatory mandate to undergo an interminable court trial where fines, liens, and asset forfeitures are unjustly imposed against you, and the list goes on. This is not freedom/rights. This needs to be firmly addressed and disciplinary action effectuated. Taxation is the number one form of fraud, hence theft involving governments. Taxing agencies are nothing more than corporations speciously posing as government. Whenever a taxing agency can take a property that is bought and paid for because the owner could not pay the exceedingly high property tax, That is unconscionable, blatant theft. These deceivers often use the color of law in an untenable attempt to justify their theft. When they go unchallenged, they win. Most people lack the courage, intelligence, and integrity to confront these infamous thieves and bring them to accountability. Therefore, their crimes against humanity prosper immeasurably. Let us now examine this odious and imposing cabal of our subject matter. Whenever you file a substantial complaint, hence in an attempt to expose one of these villainous agents of Satan, you will notice that they are immediately awarded with a host of accolades in pompous ceremonies, extolling them for their excellence, of which is usually televised and featured by various news media sites, as they are ostentatiously touted as a meritorious person of virtue, thus worthy of great praise and honor. It is utter insanity. It is sick beyond belief. Evil corporations, invariably disguised as banking, law enforcement, court systems, medical establishments, and taxing agencies, to name a few, bear great infamy for imposing draconian fines, fees, surcharges, and high interest rates against their unfortunate victims, all of which are a fraud by legal definition described in Black's Law Dictionary. Penury/usury define tyranny, hence despotism, where everybody except those at the very top are abject slaves. Environmental protection agencies demonstrate fraud by nitpicking a poor rancher or farmer over some insignificant violation, while at the same time allowing massive chemtrails to prosper in overt sky operations that poison our air, moreover allowing the petroleum industry to poison our water below for the sake of oil extractions, hence errant profits, again, for the 1%. Education systems indoctrinate instead of educate. This is why the average PhD only has a 6th grade writing ability. The so-called college professor learned through inculcation, hence mind control, to comply and not to question so-called authority, rather than to learn how to write effectively. They were taught untenable theories instead of irrefutable facts. One of the first things that the victor of war does is to lay siege to the education system and start promoting their self-serving ideals and rewriting history to their favor, hence benefit. This is one of the reasons why the medical establishment is adversarial to naturopathic healing, and likewise the legal system ignores the law and undermines it with ephemeral statutes and codes that benefit the rich. These fraudulent agents of Satan enjoy impunity and are accountable to nobody. In fact, it is basically impossible to contact any agent willing to receive and execute a complaint filed against one of them. However, if an agent was to be inundated, hence overwhelmed by grievance complaints, you can rest assured that something will be done. They are not above sacrificing one of their own to appease the angry masses. When several high-ranking officers of the Nazi military were seconds away from being hanged for their egregious crimes against humanity, they were asked the question, why did you perpetrate these unthinkable crimes against your fellow man? The Nazis responded by saying, because they allowed us to. That is a lesson to be learned. This system of abhorrent evil is so vast that our only hope to stop it is through the supernatural power of God, through prayer. We also need to inundate those who are in leadership positions with telephone calls, letters, and emails, and express our sore discontent with this needless and unwelcome madness. The pressure of that alone will cause quite a stir, and you can rest assured that something will be done. We can change the world and make it a better place. It only takes a few good individuals, and always bear in mind that you are the juror. Therefore, you decide.